illusion. The ego, false constructs, and human nature. I'm just a guy with a little experience, a lot of interest, and good seats. Yes, I've gone through the transformative process, and yes, I remember a good deal from my own before and during periods. But whereas enlightenment is exactly the same for anyone, anytime, any place, the journey to it is as unique and varied as there are people to make it. Of course, battling past the ego to get to the truth has been at the heart of countless spiritual teachings in countless countries for countless centuries. Ego death as a means to no self, abiding non-dual awareness, is what this journey is all about. That's the reason behind the devotion, the prayer, the meditation, the teachings, the renunciation. Anyone headed for truth is going to get there over the ego's dead body or not at all. There's no shortcut or easy way, no going under or around. The only way past ego is through it. And the only way through it is with laser-like intent and a heart of stone. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly. It enters a death process that becomes the birth process of the butterfly. The appearance of transformation is an illusion. One thing doesn't become another thing. One thing ends and another begins. And why do so few succeed in this greatest of all journeys? For the simple reason that success, within the context of the dream, is pointless, whereas failure, or at least struggle, is very much to the point. Chasing enlightenment holds as many lessons for the unawakened soul as any other pursuit in the dreamscape of ego-bound reality, as any other ride in the park. The supposed mega bliss of spiritual awakening is a carrot dangling from a stick, no less than love or wealth or power. In other words, actual enlightenment is seldom the point of the quest for enlightenment. And why should it be? Success in realizing one's true nature is absolutely assured because it's one's true nature. The greatest wonder isn't that you'll make it back, it's that you made it away. Returning is the motion of the Tao. Struggling to achieve truth is, in its own way, as preposterous as struggling to achieve death. What's the point? Both will find you when it's time. Should we worry that if we fail to find death, death will fail to find us? Of course not. And neither death, nor taxes, nor gravity, nor tomorrow's sunrise is as certain as the fact that everyone will end up fully enlightened, regardless of the path they take. So if I have to be interested in something, this seems like a good choice, watching the homeward migration of souls. And if I have to have a job, this seems like a good one, standing on the distant shore, keeping a beacon fire burning, helping newcomers ashore, offering a welcome and pointing out some of the sights. Julie plops down on the couch next to me, and we sit and silently watch the sky unfold and refold. It looks like there's a mean storm coming in, but I know that it won't turn out that way. This cold front produces some spectacular sights and also creates many illusions. What looks like a monstrous thunderhead now will likely turn out to be no more than a darkening and a sprinkle of rain before the next event takes shape and rolls in. I hunker down, put my feet up, and enjoy the show. Julie still seems slightly wired, as if a current was rippling just beneath her surface. It's a subtle thing, but she's clearly uncomfortable. She's bottled something up, and I wonder if I'll be around when it blows. When I continue speaking, I try to adopt a lighter tone. We're all afloat in a boundless sea, and the way we cope is by massing together in groups and pretending in unison that the situation is other than it is. We reinforce the illusion for each other. That's what a society really is. A little band of humanity huddled together against the specter of a pitch-black sea. Everyone is treading water to keep their heads above the surface, even though they have no reason to believe that the life they're preserving is better than the alternative they're avoiding. It's just that one is known and one is not. Fear of the unknown is what keeps everyone busily treading water. All fear is fear of the unknown. If someone in such a group of water treaders betrays the group lie by speaking the truth of their situation, that person is called a heretic, and society reserves its most awful punishments for heretics. If someone decides to stop struggling and just sink or float away, every possible effort is made to stop him, not for the benefit of the individual, but for the benefit of the group, to deny at all costs the truth of the situation. Whistling past the graveyard, Julie intones, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. I laugh. Yes, but it's not just death that has everyone flustered. Anyone can create a scenario to deal with death, but what's beyond that scenario? Another scenario, and another. Eventually, you run out of turtles. Huh? Turtles? A student goes to his teacher and asks, "What does the world rest upon, master?" To which the teacher replies, "On the back of a giant turtle." The student, not to be so easily put off, asks, "And what does the turtle rest upon, O wise one?" To which the teacher replies, "Upon another turtle." The student is not ready to give up. "And what does that turtle rest on?" he asks. To which the master angrily replies, "Don't you get it? It's turtles all the way down." Julie laughs and nods her head. The truth of the situation is that eventually there's nothing. Infinity, eternity, the void, the abyss. Eventually, every water treader has to deal with the fact that it's just him, the infinite ocean and nothing in between. And that everything else is a lie. Basically, yes. The body is just a rental car, and this planet is just a motel. This is nobody's home, though some treat it like a permanent residence, as if the worst thing that can possibly happen is that you pick up and move on. How absurd, and yet how absolutely vital to the experience. Look at things in this light, and you'll see the countless ways in which society encourages the externalized self and mocks, discourages, and combats the very notion of turning inward. Alan Watts called it the taboo against knowing who you are. In order to break with one's false self, one would have to break with everything, Julie says. Family, friends. Her voice falters as she considers the ramifications. Everything. Everything you are, everything you know, everything, really, everything. I decide I'd better back it off a notch. So the main point here is that I, as an enlightened person, have direct and abiding knowledge of self. You, as an unenlightened person, don't. You, therefore, have built an identity with which you, identify. You think of you as you. Now, maybe in the darkest hours of the night, in your heart of hearts, you know that it's all a facade, and you bewail your falseness and yearn for truth or substance or a foundation or whatever. Bewail? It's a word, isn't it? How about bemoan? Bewail's okay, she relents. So, there it is. That's the fundamental difference between an enlightened person and an unenlightened one, having or not having direct knowledge of self. The latter being the breeding ground of ego. She's staring out the window. When she speaks, it's not intensely, but not casually either. So everyone's just treading water, not really doing anything, not really going anywhere, because it's a boundless sea, right? Endless? Where's there to go? You go forever and ever, and you're still nowhere. Everyone's just pretending. It's all just... I'm aware that she's not really speaking to me now. She's working things out for herself, doing the math, seeing what's always been right in front of her. And it takes like every ounce of energy just to stay afloat and stay with the group. I can see that. All anybody's really doing is pretending. Everything I've ever done, my whole life. I decide to give her something specific to shine on. The Tao says that the sage sees people as straw dogs, and that's what it means. All exterior, no interior. Empty costumes populating the stage like zombies. All appearance, no substance. Yes, the unenlightened look like zombies to the enlightened, like fictional characters animated by mysterious forces. No one home. If a person were born enlightened, rather than going from unenlightened to enlightened and having the experience of being made of straw, I think he'd find this a damn spooky place. Busy, populated, yet strangely uninhabited. Julie is still and silent. Her eyes are wide and unblinking, staring off into nothing. When she does speak, it's with a distant quality, as if she's merely thinking aloud. You know, I've done a lot of research since we've started this interview. Bookstores, the library, magazine stands, the internet. I even went back to the co-op and bought a copy of that Enlightenment magazine you were looking at. Sorry to hear that, I say. Why? She nearly shouts. Very present now, arms tightly crossed, holding herself together, addressing me very directly. Because none of that stuff is what you're talking about, is it? They call it enlightenment, but it's something else, isn't it? She leaps up and begins pacing. She's processing, unraveling, coming undone. Fun to watch. A controlled breakdown, or maybe not so controlled. We've yet to see. This is what I saw in her, of course, the chaotic energy she was trying to keep suppressed. Jesus! When they told me I was going to Iowa to do a piece on a spiritual master, I thought it was a euphemism for "you're fired." Iowa, for Christ's sakes! She stops pacing and looks to me to see if I appreciate the improbability of it. She continues pacing. I've been thinking about this a lot. I haven't been getting much sleep lately. She laughs without mirth. This is really confusing me. I mean, I think of myself as someone who is on the spiritual path. I mean, I'm a spiritual person. I do all the spiritual stuff. I do yoga and I meditate and I'm a vegetarian and I'm compassionate. I catch spiders and put them outside instead of killing them. I read all the books. I attend all the lectures. I have pictures of mandalas and saints on my walls, and I send money to support a little girl in Paraguay. Or maybe it's Uruguay, although I'm not sure there really is a little girl, if you want to know the truth. And if I really think about it all, I think I'm doing it all because I want to be a good person. And I want to be spiritual and loving and open and compassionate, but also because I'm on the path. And I've always assumed that the path leads to enlightenment and freedom from bondage and all that. And breathe. She breathes. And it's all bullshit, isn't it? She stops pacing and thinks about it for a few moments before continuing. So I go out this week and I start reading all the current bestsellers on enlightenment to prepare for our next interview. And as I'm reading all these supposedly spiritually enlightened people, and it's like a light went on in my brain. It just clicked. I wait to find out what her epiphany was, although I pretty much already know. I don't mean to detract or minimize it in any way. I really have a thing for epiphanies. They're my raison d'etre, so to speak. You said it yourself, she continues. Of course you could murder me. You could smoke crack and shoot Bambi and eat human